The Hanging Gardens of Babylon are one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and perhaps the most mysterious. Unlike the other 6 wonders, whose ruins or historical records have been discovered and studied extensively, the Hanging Gardens remain lost in time, shrouded in myth, legend, and the shifting sands of history. No definitive archaeological evidence has ever been found to confirm their existence, and yet for centuries, poets, historians, and travelers have described their grandeur with awe and wonder. According to ancient accounts, the Hanging Gardens were built in the ancient city of Babylon, near present-day Hilla in Iraq, around 600 BCE. They are most commonly attributed to King Nebuchadnezzar II, who supposedly constructed them for his wife, Amytis of Media. Amytis had grown up in the lush, green mountains of her homeland, and when she came to live in the dry, flat plains of Mesopotamia, she grew homesick. To ease her sorrow and remind her of her mountainous homeland, Nebuchadnezzar is said to have built an extraordinary garden that defied nature and engineering, one that appeared to float in the sky. The term, hanging, doesn't mean the plants dangled from ropes or ceilings. Instead, it's thought to be a mistranslation of a Greek word meaning overhanging, describing the way the plants and trees cascaded over terraces and balconies, like natural waterfalls of greenery. The gardens were believed to be a multi-leveled, tiered structure made from mud bricks, possibly rising as high as 75 feet 23 meters. Each level was planted with exotic trees, shrubs, and flowers, creating a lush green oasis in the heart of the arid city. But what made the gardens truly remarkable was the complex engineering behind them. Ancient texts describe an advanced irrigation system, possibly using a chain pump or Archimedes' screw, to lift water from the Euphrates River to the highest terrace. This water would then flow down through channels, nourishing every level of the garden and allowing even the most delicate flowers and fruit-bearing trees to thrive in the desert climate. Palm trees, almond blossoms, pomegranates, fragrant herbs, and vines would have flourished side by side, attracting birds and creating an ecosystem in midair. Greek historians like Strabo and Philo of Byzantium wrote detailed descriptions of the gardens. Strabo described it as vaulted terraces raised one above another and resting upon cube-shaped pillars. Philo noted the use of stone for the supporting structures, which was extremely rare in Mesopotamian construction, suggesting the gardens were a marvel of architectural innovation. Yet despite all these detailed accounts, no definitive archaeological remains have ever been found in Babylon that confirm the gardens' existence. Some scholars have speculated that the gardens might have been located not in Babylon, but in Nineveh, the capital of the Assyrian Empire, built by King Sennacherib, who also constructed sophisticated aqueducts and lush palace gardens. Others believe the Hanging Gardens were purely mythical, a poetic exaggeration passed down through generations, gaining splendor with each retelling. Still, the image of the Hanging Gardens endures. They symbolize human creativity, love, and our eternal desire to bring beauty to even the harshest environments. Whether fact or fantasy, the story of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon continues to capture the imagination, an ancient dream of paradise suspended in the sky, lost but never forgotten. At the heart of the tale is a love story, one that has echoed through millennia. The gardens, according to legend, were created by King Nebuchadnezzar II, ruler of the vast Neo-Babylonian Empire, for his beloved wife, Queen Amytis of Media. Raised in the green, mountainous lands of Persia, Amytis found the flat, sun-scorched plains of Babylon alien and desolate. Her soul ached for the sound of rustling trees and the cool shade of her homeland's forests. To comfort her, Nebuchadnezzar is said to have ordered the construction of a miraculous structure that would mimic the mountains she missed, a towering, man-made garden that rose above the city and flourished in defiance of the desert heat. It would become one of the greatest symbols of love in architectural history, second only to the Taj Mahal. The Hanging Gardens were described as an immense, multi-tiered ziggurat-style structure, resembling a stepped pyramid. Each terrace was wide enough to hold large trees, walkways, and fountains. Supported by the structure itself is said to have been a breathtaking blend of architecture and nature, a kind of artificial mountain rising above the city walls of Babylon. Made from stone and mud brick, the terraces were layered one atop the other, supported by immense vaulted foundations. These vaults were not only structural marvels but also helped create cooler, shaded spaces underneath, perfect for retreat from the desert sun. Each level of the gardens was filled with deep beds of soil, supported by thick waterproofing techniques using bitumen and lead, unusual for the time. These beds allowed the roots of enormous trees, flowering shrubs, and even fruit-bearing plants to thrive high above the ground. Visitors described walking through the gardens as if moving through a living dream, vibrant petals underfoot, the scent of jasmine and roses drifting through the air, and cool, fresh water running in aqueduct-like channels between green corridors. A marvel of ancient engineering, the most astonishing feature of the Hanging Gardens was not the plants, but the water. Babylon sat in a hot, dry region with limited rainfall. For a garden to thrive here, water would have needed to be drawn from the nearby Euphrates River and transported upwards, possibly as high as 75 to 100 feet, 23 to 30 meters. Many ancient sources believe the Babylonians may have used an early form of a chain pump or a screw-like mechanism, similar to the later Archimedes screw, to lift water in a continuous flow. This water would be poured into stone channels or aqueducts and distributed across the different garden levels. It may have even powered decorative fountains, a wonder both of beauty and function. If these accounts are true, then the Hanging Gardens were not only a marvel of beauty but a masterclass in ancient hydraulic engineering, centuries ahead of their time. The mystery of the missing ruins, for all their legend and detailed descriptions by Greek historians like Strabo, Philo of Byzantium, and Diodorus Siculus, the Hanging Gardens have a unique problem. No physical evidence has ever been definitively found in Babylon. Despite extensive archaeological excavations of Babylon in the 19th and 20th centuries, no ruins matching the Hanging Gardens description have been unearthed. This has led scholars and historians to propose several intriguing theories. The gardens never existed at all. They may have been a myth created by Greek travelers inspired by other gardens. They were located elsewhere. Some historians now believe that the gardens were actually in Nineveh, capital of the Assyrian Empire. King Sennacherib of Assyria is known to have built vast, terraced gardens with advanced irrigation systems, and his inscriptions even describe a wonder for all peoples. They were lost to time. It's possible the gardens once stood in Babylon but were completely destroyed by floods, wars, and the shifting course of the Euphrates over the centuries. The truth remains elusive, suspended between archaeology and legend. A cultural symbol across time, regardless of their physical existence, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon became an enduring symbol of what humans could achieve through imagination, engineering, and devotion. They've inspired countless works of art, literature, and even modern-day architecture. From vertical gardens in skyscrapers to rooftop terraces in modern cities, the dream of creating green havens in impossible places echoes the vision of ancient Babylon. The gardens also speak to our innate longing to harmonize with nature, to bring beauty into barren places, to grow life where it shouldn't grow, and to show love not just through words, but through grand, living gestures. The Hanging Gardens today, a legend that lives on. Today, no traveler can visit the Hanging Gardens. No vines drape their terraces, no water flows through their ancient aqueducts. And yet, they remain alive, not in stone, but in story. They are the symbol of an ancient dream, that even in the harshest desert, beauty can bloom. That through love and ingenuity, we can raise gardens in the sky. As long as people dream of wonder, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon will never truly be lost. Historical sources and eyewitness accounts. Much of what we know about the Hanging Gardens comes not from Babylonian records, which remain largely silent on the subject, but from later Greek and Roman historians who compiled stories passed down through generations. Diodorus Siculus, a Greek historian writing in the 1st century BCE, described the gardens in vivid detail. The terraces were built one above the other, and the whole resembled a theater. On all these, the earth had been piled to a depth sufficient for the roots of the largest trees. The construction was cleverly devised so that the entire mass rested upon stone columns, and water was raised in great quantities from the river by machines. Similarly, Strabo, the Greek geographer and philosopher, wrote, It consists of vaulted terraces raised one above another and resting upon cube-shaped pillars. These are hollow and filled with earth to allow large trees to be planted. While these accounts differ slightly, they agree on one thing. The gardens were an engineering masterpiece, combining architectural prowess with horticultural splendor. Yet, curiously, no Babylonian tablets from Nebuchadnezzar's reign ever mention the gardens directly, a strange omission, considering how meticulous Babylonian scribes were in recording royal achievements. Babylon, the jewel of Mesopotamia. To fully understand the importance of the Hanging Gardens, one must imagine Babylon itself, once the largest and most magnificent city in the world. Babylon rose along the Euphrates River in present-day Iraq and flourished between the 18th and 6th centuries BCE. By Nebuchadnezzar's time, it had become a hub of power, religion, commerce, and art. The city was enclosed by enormous double walls, and at its heart stood the towering Atamananki ziggurat, said to be the inspiration for the Tower of Babel myth. The Ishtar Gate, one of the main entrances into Babylon, was a grand procession of blue-glazed bricks, adorned with golden lions, bulls, and dragons. Streets bustled with trade, priests offered incense in towering temples, and scholars studied mathematics and astronomy by the light of oil lamps. In this setting of grandeur and ambition, the Hanging Gardens were more than a gift to a queen. They were a crown jewel, proof of Babylon's ability to tame the earth, command the waters, and impress all who entered. Parallels in modern architecture. Though the Hanging Gardens may be lost to history, their influence lives on in modern urban design. The idea of vertical greenery, planting upwards instead of outwards, has become essential in cities struggling with overpopulation, pollution, and climate change. Examples include the Bosco Verticale in Milan, Italy, a pair of residential towers covered in thousands of trees and shrubs. Singapore's gardens by the bay, futuristic biodomes and super trees inspired by ancient concepts of harmony between architecture and nature. Green rooftops in global cities, from New York to Tokyo, used to reduce heat, clean the air, and create peaceful sanctuaries in concrete jungles. These innovations echo the very spirit of the Hanging Gardens, to elevate nature, literally and spiritually, into the heart of human civilization. Symbolism, nature, power, and love. Over time, the Hanging Gardens came to symbolize more than just royal luxury. They represent a fusion of opposites, nature and architecture, function and beauty, reality and myth. Nature over adversity. In a desert city, where water was precious and trees rare, the creation of a lush, green mountain was nothing short of a miracle. It showed humanity's potential to overcome harsh conditions with innovation and care. Power through creation. Unlike monuments built to intimidate or conquer, the Hanging Gardens were an act of creation, not destruction. They showed that power could be expressed through nurturing, not just warfare. Love and devotion. At the heart of the legend is the tender story of a king who built paradise to comfort his homesick queen. It reminds us that even the most magnificent wonders can begin with something simple, a desire to bring joy to someone we love. The Hanging Gardens in popular culture. Today, the Hanging Gardens live on in films, video games, books, and art. They often appear in stories as a mythical place of peace, a lost Eden or utopia untouched by time. In fantasy films and novels, the gardens are imagined as floating islands, mystical realms, or settings for divine intervention. In history-based documentaries, they remain a symbol of mystery, the Atlantis of the desert. In art and architecture, they inspire modern reinterpretations of ancient beauty, blending the past with the future. The fact that they may never have existed only adds to their mystique. Like all great myths, they challenge us to dream, to imagine what could be, and to strive for beauty, even when it seems impossible. Closing reflection. Whether the Hanging Gardens of Babylon were real, exaggerated, or entirely imagined, they endure because they speak to something universal and timeless. Our desire to recreate paradise in the world around us. Our hope that love can shape landscapes. Our belief that with enough ingenuity and heart, even the harshest deserts can bloom into living wonderlands. In the end, the Hanging Gardens are more than just a lost wonder. They are a story, a symbol, and perhaps most importantly, a reminder that beauty, love, and vision leave a legacy that no time or ruin can erase.